There is a storm brewing in the draft room and the walls are whispering about a move that could change everything for the Houston Texans. I have been following this front office closely, and something feels different this time. We are talking about a strategy that defies the conventional wisdom of holding on to premium first-round real estate. If you think you know what is coming at pick 28, you need to think again because the signals are pointing toward a calculated exit. This is not just a rumor. It is a pattern of behavior that is repeating itself. Nick Caserio has officially put the rest of the league on notice that the Houston Texans are open for business when it comes to their first-round selection. As we approach the draft in Pittsburgh, the evidence is mounting that Houston is looking to trade out of the 28th overall pick. This is not a new game for this front office. Just look at the history they have established recently. In 2024, they famously moved out of the first round to grab Camerio Lassiter in the second. Before that, it was the move out of pick 25 to secure Jaden Higgins. It is a philosophy built on maximizing value over chasing the glitz of day one. Caserio himself has addressed these tendencies, basically telling the fan base and the media to expect the unexpected. He mentioned that if they move out, he might hear some choice words, but he is clearly comfortable with the heat. The reality is that this team has never made fewer than 3 trades in any draft since Caserio took over the reins. They are calculated, they are aggressive, and they are obsessed with flexibility. Right now, the buzz is that they are looking at the depth of this specific class and realizing that the difference between pick 28 and pick 34 might be negligible in terms of talent, but massive in terms of draft capital gained. By sliding back, they have historically found starters like Lassiter and Higgins who have performed at a high level. This strategy has allowed them to build a roster with multiple layers of talent, rather than putting all their eggs in one basket. The front office believes that moving around the board is the best way to maintain a steady flow of young, cheap talent into the building. As the draft clock starts ticking, everyone in the building is prepared for the phone to start ringing. They are not just waiting for calls, they are actively shaping the market to see who is desperate enough to jump back into the first round. It is a high-stakes game of poker where Caserio holds the cards and knows exactly when to fold his first-round hand to win the larger pot later on day 2. This is the Houston way under this regime, and it is happening again. Ty Simpson is the name that could be the catalyst for this entire plan to unfold. If a quarterback like Simpson is still sitting there at pick 28, the value of that spot skyrockets for teams picking early in the second round. Specifically, look at the Arizona Cardinals sitting at 34. They are the prime candidate to move up if Simpson is available because they need a long-term answer, and that fifth-year option on a first-rounder is gold. For the Texans, this is the perfect storm. By trading with Arizona, they could replicate the exact framework they used with the Giants. They would slide back only 6 spots but potentially gain a massive haul of day 2 picks. Think about the impact on the depth chart. Instead of one player at 28, you could be looking at 5 picks across the second and third rounds. This is where you find your starting guards, your rotational defensive ends, and your high upside safeties. In a league where the salary cap is always a factor, having 5 rookies on day 2 contracts is a strategic masterstroke. It fills the holes that currently exist in the roster without breaking the bank. The offensive line needs more competition, and the defensive front could always use more youth. If Caserio pulls this off, he is essentially turning a single pick into a foundational draft class. This move would allow the Texans to address multiple position groups in a single afternoon. It also gives them the ammunition to move back up later in the draft if a specific target starts to fall. The flexibility this provides cannot be overstated. It keeps the team young, hungry, and most importantly, it keeps the windows of contention open for longer. We have seen how these day 2 picks have turned into immediate contributors in the past, and there is no reason to think this year would be any different. The impact on the season outlook would be profound because it provides the kind of depth needed to survive the grind of a 17-game schedule. If one starter goes down, you have a high-pedigree second or third rounder ready to step in. That is how you build a championship culture, and it all starts with the willingness to trade down and collect those valuable assets when the opportunity arises. Nick Caserio has developed a reputation for being one of the most active GMs on draft day for a reason. His history shows a player who understands the math of the draft better than almost anyone. When you look at the trajectory of players like Camerio Lassiter, you see why this works. Lassiter came in with high expectations and has already started to show that he belongs in this system. The same goes for Jaden Higgins, who has provided a reliable target and proven that you do not need to be a top 10 pick to make an immediate impact. These players were acquired because the Texans were willing to move. The stats back up the philosophy. By having more picks, you increase your hit rate. It is a simple volume game. The strengths of this current Texans roster are clear, but the weaknesses could be exposed if they do not continue to add depth. They need players who can fit into DeMeco Ryans' aggressive defensive scheme and players who can protect the quarterback on the other side. By targeting the late first to early second round range, they are hitting the sweet spot of this year's class. There is a cluster of offensive and defensive linemen projected in this area that are considered nearly interchangeable. If you can get the same quality of player at 34 that you could get at 28, while adding an extra third rounder, you do it every single time. That is the logic that has guided this front office through the last several cycles. It is about identifying the tiers of talent. If the Texans feel that their top tier is gone by pick 28, then pick 34 becomes just as valuable to them. This situation is the culmination of years of roster building and draft day maneuvering. They have stashed picks from previous trades, like the 69th overall pick from the Giants, which was a direct result of last year's movement. This creates a compounding effect where each trade down sets up future success. It is a cycle of value that Caserio has perfected. He knows the career trajectories of these prospects, and he knows that the pressure of being a first-round pick can sometimes be a burden. By bringing guys in on day 2, they often come in with a chip on their shoulder, ready to prove the league wrong for letting them slide. Nick Caserio is walking a tightrope where the best-case scenario is a total haul that defines the franchise for the next 5 years. Imagine a world where they trade down, pick up 2 extra day 2 selections, and still land the defensive tackle they wanted all along. The fans would be ecstatic, and the roster would be loaded with talent. It would be a masterclass in management. But there is a dark side to this strategy that we have to acknowledge. The worst-case scenario is that the board falls in a way where they trade out of a spot that held a future All-Pro, only to see their day 2 picks turn into busts. There is a massive risk in moving away from a guaranteed blue-chip prospect at 28. If you pass on a star to gain more picks, and those picks do not pan out, the scrutiny will be intense. The pressure on the front office is immense, because they are essentially gambling with the team's immediate ceiling. Every time you trade down, you are betting on your scouting department to find gems in the rough. If they miss, the depth you gained is worthless. There are strong questions being asked in the facility right now. Can they afford to pass on a day 1 starter for the sake of future flexibility? Is the gap between the talent at the end of the first round and the start of the second really that small? The tension on draft night will be palpable as the clock ticks down. Every pick before 28 will change the math. If their guy is there, do they stick and pick, or do they stick to the process and move? The emotional weight of these decisions is what makes the draft so compelling. Fans want the excitement of a first-round name, but the front office wants the long-term stability of a deep roster. It is a clash of philosophies that will reach a breaking point next week. The opportunity to add 5 impact players in the first 3 rounds is tempting, but the risk of losing out on a generational talent is the ghost that haunts every draft room. This is the ultimate test for the Texans' leadership and their vision for the future of this team. Nick Caserio has proven time and again that he is not afraid to ignore the noise and follow his board. The Houston Texans are in a position of strength, and that strength comes from the flexibility they have built through these very trades. Whether you love the idea of trading down or you want to see a big name called on Thursday night, you have to respect the consistency of the vision. This team is being built to last, not just for a 1-year window. As an insider who sees the work put in behind the scenes, I can tell you that every move is calculated for maximum impact. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think trading out of the first round is the right move for Houston this year? Or should they finally stand pat and take the best player available at 28? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below because I read every single one. Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive, and make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you never miss a beat on your Houston Texans. We are heading into the most exciting week of the year, and you do not want to be left behind.